Hey, this is Carlo at 4GQ TV, and I have Cerebral Paul, also known as Paulie Pineapples,
No,
Pineapple
no,
Paparazzi
no,
Paul with
no.
us. But we have a very special guest, Nico Santucci with us. And Nico is a filmmaker and a restaurant entrepreneur. Nico, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm originally from Chicago, and that's where I think probably the Italian food thing came from. It's in my DNA. My dad was sort of a weekend chef, and I grew up eating the best food possible in Chicago. We went to Gianotti's and all the amazing restaurants in Oak Park and Chicago, and I took that all forward and have always aspired to do restaurants. Um, and when I got out west, California, Nevada, I saw some opportunities, and I began building some entertainment complexes, and ultimately some restaurants, of which Capo's in Las Vegas has been around for more than 2 decades now. And we're very blessed with a great following from around the world. And I think we deliver some pretty great Italian food.
Nice. I've seen a lot of the Instagram posts and I see a lot of different people comment. They love the restaurant. They love the themes of the restaurant and it's got amazing reviews from all
It's
over.
that's the thing that's so profound. I mean, we've got clients every day from Frankfurt, Germany, from Italy, I had a guy in a couple days ago from Milan who's a world champion pizza maker who came in, said, I heard about your restaurant in Italy. I'm here. He loved all 5 courses of his meal. And I thought, my Lord, I never really quite anticipated people from all of the world coming into Vegas to enjoy Capos.
And that's when you're doing something right. You know, when people love it and you're having fun doing it, you're doing it right.
That's, you know what, there's not a time I walk in there that I'm not having the time of my life. It is such a warm, welcoming environment, and the garlic's always sizzling, and the food is just great. I mean, it's not good for the waistline, but it's good for the friends and the family I built around the world.
Absolutely. Well, Nico, you also are a filmmaker too. You also have done a lot of great things there, and you have something coming out, or it may be out. But can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, today releases Sarogeto, and it's a film. It was a bit of labor of love. I wrote the story in about 2017. It took me close to 2 years to complete it, and I had a vision of the film while I was writing it, and I brought that to life over the course of about another year. And then there was a long, laborious edit, of course, and I'm very proud of it. I feel like it's a film that will resonate with many. It's about some really tough subjects, things that we don't talk about very often, and how our lead character in the film is Japanese, and it's how she looks at life. And the Japanese have a very stoic approach to life, very unlike Westerners in some ways. And I wanted to sort of reveal that. And we did that through this journey that she goes on. She's chronically ill, and it's about choices she needs to make along the way to maintain her sanity and the happiness of her family.
What would you say was one of the most challenging things of getting this from the script to being filmed? Did you face any challenges there?
I think the biggest challenge was casting. I mean, when you're writing it, you sort of begin to develop an image of your characters, right? And I certainly knew Eric Roberts had a place. I knew exactly where I wanted to see Eric. And Windsor Harmon, who I'd worked with before and was a big fan of, was absolutely going to be my leading man. So those were sort of determined as I was writing it. But the two female leads, it was very challenging to find because they're very specific characters, and they also needed to look a lot alike. They needed to be almost like twins for the sake of the story. So that was a bit of a journey finding two gals who looked as much alike as they could, act alike, and fill the shoes of the roles that I had written. It's pretty sophisticated dialogue, and the emotions that we asked of them it was a really wide range of emotions.
That sounds really interesting. It really does. So
Yeah,
I have a question. So you said this. So did you have any input from anybody from the Japanese culture to kind of that kind of
more than I wanted. you know, No, it was look,
Mm.
first of all, let me say that I love the Japanese culture. I love the Japanese people. I'm a big proponent of people commingling ideas, and I think the ideas they have about life are really profound and they resonate with me. And that's sort of where this story all began because I'm really fascinated with how stoic they approach certain things in their lives. And to get it all on paper, I did ask their input a
Yeah.
lot. And my Japanese lead, her husband is a producer director in Japan. So when we were on set, if I ever did anything that he felt the Japanese might not agree with, I said, tell me. I don't want to upset this culture. I'm here to admire the culture. If I do anything, and very often I did by accident, as a Westerner, we do things on the fly, whether it was the way she was dressed, or maybe some dialogue she said, or the way she was spoken to, or the way they bowed. I didn't know there was a whole method to that. Who bows first, and
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
don't, there's some interpretation of disrespect. And so I learned a lot about the culture. So to answer your question, yeah, there was a ton of input from them, and I listened to every bit of it, and I think it made us better as a result of it.
Without saying, I think so too. I think that because that's what some people are going to be looking for. They're
And
gonna,
it's all there. Yeah,
yep.
it was really important to me. In fact, there's a book, a storybook that the lead character reads through the film, and it's in Japanese. So we sort of drift in and out, and the film is in both languages. So we drift in and out. And when we did voiceovers in Japanese, I had to make very sure that the pronunciation and the etiquette of the language was dead spot on.
Those kind of details are gonna what's gonna make it a great movie. I think to me, yeah. So
I wanted it to be timeless and I
yeah,
wanted that culture to embrace it. So I did spend the time to make sure I did it right. Look, there were a lot of shortcuts we could have taken, and they're tempting when you're in it and you want to get through something. You're tempted to go with what's easy, but I would always
yep,
press up to my Japanese people and say, "Is this how we should
yep.
handle this?"
Which and because the first thing people are gonna see, they're gonna see this thing. They're gonna see what it's about. Written by Nico Santucci. They go,
Yeah,
wait, what?
exactly. The Italian from Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, what does he know? What does he know? But the good news is, though, I did spend a lot of
Mm,
time before we shot one bit of film with
mm,
these consultants.
mm.
And all my costumes, when we were building some of the costumes for some geisha scenes, we got the absolute best of the best. We flew in people from Japan to handle this. And when we were in Japan, we were with the locals shooting on their land. So there was a lot of homage paid to the Japanese.
Very good.
Yeah,
That should be.
that's amazing right there. That's a lot of respect for, the film industry and the culture that you're trying to project on the screen. So I think that's amazing. When
Well, I
it
didn't want to
came,
fake it.
no, absolutely. You want the authenticity there for sure.
100%.
When it came to the filming days, were you always on set, and how long did it usually take to wrap one day?
I was on set every day, and they're long days, as you're aware. And I would say we were probably shooting 12 hours a day. There may have been a couple days we shot a little shorter if we got lucky, or some scenes worked out better, locations worked out better than expected. But, there's always so many tribulations on set, whether it's audio or lighting or location or talent and you sort of just pencil that in advance. And we were expecting 12-hour days from the jump. And that's what we ended up with.
Do you have any favorite locations in the movie?
Well, the stuff in Japan is spectacular. I mean, the look there, it's so saturated and beautiful. And it's so contradictory. Like the look, if when you see the film, you see it sort of elevate from a very cold, lifeless color, and it begins to get more saturated as we move on. And when we end up in Japan, it's just so vibrant and stunning. I mean, that was an incredible location. I had a location in Laguna Beach that was on a cliffside overlooking the most magnificent view of the Pacific. That location was stunning. We shot a gala at an amazing restaurant and ballroom in Long Beach, California was very cool. And there was a piece of property in Beverly Hills we shot on. I think it was about $200 million piece of property. We're blessed enough to be able to shoot on. We did some amazing aerials there. So I was really blessed with locations.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it now. Just I'm going to pay attention specifically to locations as well because
Yeah,
that's something that pops the film. We have a great location, it makes it pop.
it really does. And it really sort of gets everybody motivated. When you pull up and everybody's looking at that same view and they're going, "Oh my God, we're going to shoot here all day." It's sort of like being on vacation to some degree with some of these locations, and everybody gets really excited about it. I think you get more out of your crew and your talent.
One thing you said really has me interested, though, that you actually use the scenery to help push the story because you said it starts out really bleak, and then as you get into Japan, all of a sudden it's vibrant and bright and alive. So,
Exactly.
so it really
Exactly.
sounds like you're using that to kind of tell the story as you can watch the story shift as the scenery shifts.
Listen, there are scenes 10 or 12 minutes long where there's literally no dialogue. I am walking the story through the settings and the scenes and the light.
That is awesome.
It is if you're into those sorts of I love that sort of journey. I don't need a lot of dialogue to understand and have something resonate with me.
Okay, so now I'm interested on the other end. We talked about the scenery, we talked about the soundtrack, the kind of music you use throughout the film.
I mean, all I can say is, wow, the soundtrack. I was so blessed. I mean, I had interviewed a number of different composers, and I was blessed enough to find this young gentleman out of Germany, Jacob Below, that was just every time I asked for something, I'd send him a scene, he'd send me a track, and he was just spot on. He had the mood right. And then I paired him with Martin Tillman, who's an incredibly famous cellist who did some of the really haunting strings throughout the film. And it's really beautiful.
I'm a soundtrack guy, so that's where I kind of go
Listen,
sometimes.
the sound, I drive from Las Vegas to Los Angeles pretty regularly. There's nothing better to listen to than that soundtrack for an hour plus. It's
Nice.
gorgeous. It's heavy. It's not a pop song,
No,
but
no,
it's
no.
beautiful.
Nope. I love one of my favorite quote. I don't drive, but anytime I was on a road trip, the original Doctor No soundtrack, which sounds silly, but there are some sequences in
Oh,
that soundtrack when you're
absolutely.
driving down the road, especially if you're in California going down the 101.
There
Going,
it is.
hey, this is awesome.
No, that pairing is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the soundtrack. You'll love it.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
And I know we talked a little earlier, you were a car guy. So I'm just curious, did you put any specific cars in there on purpose because you love certain cars?
It's so funny you mentioned that because I feel like I want to say I shouldn't have, and I did. I put a Rolls Royce in as her car. She's a very affluent suburban housewife married to a really successful, handsome Western businessman. So it was sort of to show the alternative to where she grew up in Japan, right? And she was sort of not poverty driven, but her character was significantly less in Japan. She comes to the Western nation, and the culture here is so different. And I put her into a Rolls Royce. Now that was one of my cars. And some of my team were like, I don't know if she would drive a Rolls Royce because she really wasn't that personality type. We used that car, and it is unfortunately highlighted a bit, but I think we toned it down. It was one of my most toned down cars. It was like sort of an ivory sedan. So it wasn't like I've got a lot of pretty crazy cars that I could never put in this film.
Yeah, I have a friend whose father had a solid gold Rolls Royce in Houston.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to use that. Yeah, I've got some black ones, and I've got a lot of Ferraris and Lamborghinis, none of which I could use in this film.
Yeah, you and my friend Jeff need to get together. I think you guys could talk a lot
I
together.
love talking cars anytime.
So if there's somebody out there that's thinking about seeing your movie, what would you say should they go in with any specific mindset or just turn your brain off and enjoy the picture?
Yeah, I would absolutely going with zero expectations, turn your brain off of it. And I think it brings a bit of peace, if you will, sitting through this, particularly if you don't know what it's about. I think that's really the best way to see this film is to really just absorb it and enjoy it and let it take you on the journey that I went on to make it. And I think there's so much depth to it and there's so many messages throughout the film. There's all sorts of Easter eggs that you'll find. And it's a type of film you can watch 2 or 3 or 4 times and just find an Easter egg maybe on each watch. And I think for that reason, it's really worth a couple hours of absorbing it, the sound, the moving pictures, the performances. It's a beautiful film.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah. It was a real blessing to make it.
So, Nico, one question that we always ask on the show before we end the interview.
And given your cooking background, I'd be interested in your answer.
Now, keep in mind, his nickname is Pineapple Paul for
Shut
a
up.
reason.
No, don't do that.
All right. Paul, go ahead. Ask the famous question.
Okay, the question we ask everybody we interview, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
You know, it's so, Paul, you couldn't be more timely with that question because yesterday, my staff I'm opening Capo's Pizza today. It's launching today. And we went back and forth on pineapple for 2 hours because there's a part of us East Coasters, Chicago in particular, that say, what the are you doing with pineapple on a pizza?
I'm in that group.
Right. So and so am I. But I've got staffers from California and from Nevada, which is where this location is opening. They said, well, look, Nico, people want it. And I did a little market research on it. So what we're going to do is you're going to hate me for this. We're going to do a pineapple pizza, but we're doing it with honey smoked apple bacon and pineapple on an extra really thin crispy crust with a sweet savory Capo sauce. And I'm not saying I'm going to change your mind, but I
think that might work.
That might work, right?
But I also think that if you're going to do that, you're really Italian, you need to upcharge them just because.
Just hit them for it, right? Just stock them for it. Hey, you're not wrong. It was against all my instincts to do it, but I think we created one that if you saw it, you'd say, okay, all right, that's a gangster pie.
Yeah.
You know, a little bacon on there. It's a little well done.
I probably still couldn't bring myself to order it myself. But if somebody gets it at the table,
yeah. No,
there you go.
I'm with you. I'm old school about that. So I gave you the best answer I could.
There you go.
Thanks for asking that one, though. That's a good question.
And Nico, something I like to say now because, okay, so Paul recently tried a new topping on pizza, and he thinks that it's popular in New York, Brooklyn.
No, it's popular in one area, dude.
Okay. Spicy brown mustard.
Interesting. Never even considered it.
One of our New York friends in his area, they put spicy brown mustard, and I think he's in Brownsville.
How do they do it? How do they approach that? You
just take the pepperoni pizza and you squirt some mustard on it, some spicy brown mustard.
Just sort of
drizzle, just kind of drizzle it, yeah.
Almost like a balsamic drizzle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You know what's gotten really popular lately is this hot honey. Have you tried that?
I have tried that. Not on pizza, but I have tried hot honey.
So the hot honey now on pizza is all the rage on the West Coast. Go figure.
Well, Californians are weird, and I grew up there, and I can say that.
And I can agree with you. And I live there half the time, so I live down in
especially L.A., California. Those are really weird. Okay.
You know, I got out of L.A. a few years ago. I can't do Beverly Hills or L.A. anymore. It's a different animal now. It's very different than it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nico, before we go, I'm going to ask you just to hang on real quick. And I just want to thank you for coming on, doing the interview, talking about your film. Can't wait to see it, by the way. I'll put the links in the description below for everybody out there so you can find it. You can enjoy it. Let us know what you think. Also, don't forget Capo's. You got to check that out in Las Vegas. He's got the pizza place and he's got the restaurant, so you don't want to miss that. You can even find it on Instagram. Very popular places. Check it out. And Nico, thanks again. Hang on just a
My
moment.
pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure chatting with you. When I see you in Vegas, let's have some pie with some pineapple.
Now I gotta work, and trips to Vegas aren't that bad because they want you to go to Vegas. So,
Hey, man, Vegas is on fire right now.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you guys out here.